Today on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast on womenmindthewater.com, I'm speaking with Angèle Etoundi Essamba, a Cameroonian-born photographer. Angèle has been proclaimed one of the most accomplished African female photographers of her generation. Angèle was educated in France and later trained at the Dutch School for Professional Photography. Her captivating photos reflect the lives of Black women. They've been collected and displayed as part of many public collections across the globe. Angèle Etoundi Essamba is the latest guest on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast on womenmindthewater.com. Through their stories, Women Mind the Water hopes to inspire and encourage action to protect water and all the creatures that depend on it. I am honored to speak with Angèle Etoundi Essamba on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast. Her work was brought to my attention by Tracy Metz, another guest on this podcast. Tracy felt that Angèle and I had synergy due to her collection titled Women on the Water. After I saw Angèle's work, I knew I had to talk with her and share her amazing photos. I think her work will enrich our perspective on women, particularly Black women, their world, and water. Welcome, Angèle. Your work is indeed impressive. And while your work extends over many decades, I hope you won't mind if we explore in some detail the Women of Water series, which was originally published as a hardcover book. Its focus is Ganvié, a lake village in the Benin Republic, a country in West Africa. The town was created by people who were trying to avoid the slave trade, the only means of transportation to and from the villages by boat. Angèle, you are a woman rooted on two continents, Africa and Europe. You were born in Cameroon, but much of your schooling took place in France, and later you went to the Netherlands to study photography. What attracted you to photography, and why did you think it was something you wanted to pursue as a career?
First of all, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Pamela, for inviting me at the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast. You made a good introduction already, and I thank Tracy also who connected us. From a very young age already, I was always quite fascinated by people. I used to observe, to look, and in my head of little girl, I was just imagining how I could capture all that movement, expressions, emotions. Photography I do today is just a natural extension of that way of seeing.
Do you think that maybe because you grew up in Cameroon and then went to France, that when you got to Amsterdam, the language was a barrier, but it made you be an observer, and that's where your focus came from?
I left Cameroon at a very young age because of health issues, health problems. I was 9 years old, and this was in January 1972. It was my first time of traveling, and of course, it was an incredible culture shock. I was handed over to a stewardess at that time. I was handed over to a stewardess with a little pouch on my neck with my name and all my documents, and just put in that plane, and at that time there were this plane with the propeller, making a lot of noises.
Right.
And I was totally terrified at that moment. And I cried the entire journey. I felt alone. I felt abandoned. I really felt lost, And I think that flight will remain the longest flight of my life, the longest journey. I arrived and I saw everyone in the plane just leaving. And I was like the last one till another stewardess came to pick me up and walk with me toward the exit. And then there I saw my father waiting. You know, the relief of finally seeing a familiar face after so many hours. Also, this is something that I will never forget. So I saw my father and jumped into his arms and just felt the security again, you know. And at the same time, I was totally overwhelmed. I mean, I was suddenly in a different place, different people, different culture, different language. Even so, we used to speak French in Cameroon, but this was totally a different environment. Suddenly, I was part of a minority, you know, in Cameroon.
Yeah.
I used to be surrounded by my own people, my family, friends, and this was just different. And then the second shock was, of course, experience the winter, you know, the winter and the cold. I've never felt cold before, never seen snow before. So
Right.
it's all very strange. And this experience even of being uprooted at such a young age, you know, it really shaped my identity profoundly. One of resilience, of course, of also being aware of all these contrasts and the notion of belonging. It's these are themes that will be part of my photography, that will be part of my, I mean, themes that will be recurrent in my all artistic work later.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. It's very emotional. You painted a picture that I can see. And now I really do understand the sort of the root of your photographic eye. So let me ask you, was there digital photography when you attended the Dutch School for Professional Photography? And tell listeners who may not be aware of it, since we live in a digital age, what it's like to make photographs when using film and paper.
When I started photography, it wasn't digital photography didn't exist yet. And all was with film. And it was really, it's a different experience. You just learn to be so much more careful and to look and to observe and to see. So it's a very different approach, you know. The whole process, which for me was really something magical, that you have to wait to develop the film, even to print the image, to see really how it looks like, you know. So all this time of waiting and not knowing what it's gonna come out, it was very learnful, because it's learned you to be patience, of course, but also precision, you know. Making the shift to digital photography, it was much more because of practical reasons. But actually it didn't change much the way I still approach my model and the way I still work, because even I know today I can shoot like 100,000 of pictures with memory card. I'm still very careful with every shot. I mean, it's for me, every shot, it's like the last, so I'm just very cautious with that.
So what draws you to focus your camera on Africa?
It's my continent. It's the continent where I was born, and it's of course I'm very interested in its culture. I'm interested in its everyday realities, and I think it's for me, it still remains an inexhaustible source of inspiration. I wanted to bring a different narrative to the continent. We have massively these images of Africa, which is torn by famine, by war, by epidemics, and where women are oppressed, dependent, passive, or reduced to certain roles, servants. And I wanted to deconstruct and to break with all these stereotypes by showing a continent which is much more complex, than only that, and which has a rich cultural diversity, which is in the booming, which is a bursting of creativity, whether is it in fashion, music, technology, visual art, but also in its way of trying to, how you say this, which is resilient,
Right.
with everyday problem solving. I mean, the inventivity of the people, it always, amazed me. And it's important also to show that complexity of the continent.
So when did you learn about Ganvié? What inspired you to create a series on that place?
I learned about Ganvié. I went to Ganvié for the first time in 2012. And I was actually invited. My friends, knowing how much of my work is centers on women, recommend me. I remember she highly recommended me to visit Ganvié before I leave the country. And it was magic. It was very overwhelming, seeing all these little boats, these little pirogues with women and children, and with colorful fabrics stretched as sails, flowing with the wind, and this kind of, this image already in itself, can you imagine a lake full of these taffrails? It was very, that poetic image, that poetry already struck me, and then I arrived in the village, and seeing the women, so many women, it actually looks like the village was carried by women. How elegant they were, how determined, how proud, the way they were standing on their boat, and just the vibrant energy also of the place. It was highly inspiring, and from that moment, I knew I have to return. I have to come back. And a year later, in 2013, because I needed to immerse myself completely in the lives of Ganvié, and just wanted to take time to listen to the story of the women of water, and to connect with them, and to do some work to show to the world how resilient these women are, and to show to the world this community who is struggling so much with, who is surrounded by water and paradoxically is lacking drinking water, and how the whole community works, and the togetherness, and the all these elements needed to be shown to the world with honesty and respect.
So how do you decide what kinds of pictures do you want to take? Do you simply show up and start taking photographs, or do you plan out in your mind what you want to take?
The camera for me is never a starting point, never. So when I come to a place, it's not with the camera. I first I observe, I look, I listen, and I try to take in the energy of the place, try to connect really with the people, and only then I let the camera being part of the dialogue. What is the story? What is the story I want to tell? Why I am here? Why do I ask myself, why did I come all the way from the Netherlands to Ganvié, to here? To do what? What do I feel? What are these people showing me? Their gestures, their looks, the environment, how they connect with their environment. All these elements play an important role in how I work and how I engage with the people.
So is there a photo or a set of photos that best express your connection with the village?
I like very much the photos where the women are together, because it's really show the spirit of the village, of the place. They are very much how they. I mean, I was fascinated by how these women organize themselves in collectivity. Whether when they collect the water hyacinth, these invasive plants, and create different object with it that they sell always as a collective, or rather when they dive to fish the oysters, or they are often together. And this, I think, it's an incredible. It's beautiful, because it helps them also in fighting the adversity. In the adversity, it helps them, and it's these kind of pictures also show how I connect with these women, and of course there are much more pictures of the place, but I like these pictures in particularly because they show their strength, their pride. You see how elegant they are. I mean, the women are really the pillars of Ganvié. They are the one who manage the water.
You make your home in Amsterdam, which is a city sited on canals in a country that is always challenged to remain free from flooding. Angèle, have you ever thought of yourself as a woman of water?
It's strange because I was born in Douala in Cameroon, which is in the littoral, and my mother, also originally from Douala, belongs to the Sawa people, and the Sawa people are a coastal Bantu group who is known as the people of the sea.
Interesting.
So it's really, really incredible. And the Sawa people, this is actually also to highlight their connection with the ocean and with waterways. So this is where I come from, actually. And every year in my country, in the city of Douala, every year you have a festival. Every first week of December, you have a festival called the Ngondo. And the Ngondo celebrates life around the sea and water, with rituals, with dances, with different ceremonies. And this is to honor the spirit of the sea also. Yeah, I do see myself as a woman of the water.
So if someone were to take a picture of you that best represented who you are, where would the photo be taken, and how would you pose yourself?
A photo which is timeless, which feels both present and infinite, and reflects the way I navigate life, like I said, with being adaptable, being aware, and powerful.
So at the end of each of my podcasts, I ask my guests to suggest how the audience can make a difference. Since most everyone has a phone with a camera, tell us how they can create an image that makes an impact.
I think it's important always to know which story you want to tell, and to try to look, of course, beyond what you see, beyond the immediacy of what you see, what you have here. So the story is very important. Focus on that, on what you want to tell. And for me, a photo that actually speaks volumes should capture a certain emotion, and the context also is very important. It should be a photo which resonates, a photo with meaning, a photo with just a story.
Well, I am extremely grateful to you for being on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and I urge everyone to view the video version of this podcast to see some of your photographs, and they should check them out on your website. I'll put the address on the show notes on womenmindthewater.com. I'd like listeners to know that I've been speaking with Angèle Etoundi Essamba. Angèle trained at the Dutch School for Professional Photography. Today, her captivating photos can be found in collections across the globe. Angèle is the latest guest on the Women Mind the Water Artivist Series podcast. The series can be viewed on womenmindthewater.com and YouTube. A transcript is available on the womenmindthewater.com and iTunes and Spotify. Women Mind the Water is grateful to Jane Rice for the use of her song, Women of Water. All rights for the Women Mind the Water name and logo belong to Pam Ferris Olson. This is Pam Ferris Olson.